Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for attending the University College of the Cayman Islands 2023 Sustainability Forum. I am Julie Philip Durham, Interim Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost here at UCCI. During this morning's event, we ask that you please either turned off or on silent. You'll find the restrooms located down the library department. Just through the exit here. It's my honor this morning to acknowledge the dignitaries and special guests joining us, members of the UCCI Corporate Management Team, UCCI faculty and staff, students, and members of UCCI alumni. We are also very happy that many of UCCI's community partners and sponsors are here with us. Thank you for the support you continuously give to our students. Today's forum is also being live streamed by UCCI TV so that those who were unable to join us in person could be part of this special event. Please be mindful of the cameras and wires as you move around. We don't want to obstruct the view for those who are joining us online. We begin this morning with a review of the Resambit project and the sustainability efforts here at UCCI. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Deborah Beal, Associate Professor and a leading champion of environmental sustainability at UCCI. Dr. Beal has been at the forefront of our efforts to build a greener campus. Will be Dr. Dean Tracy, who oversees the STEM and Health Division. All this work is done.
I can start talking. While you're getting the power. So I've already heard part of this presentation that we first started on this journey. The other started this and either retired or moved on. The last one left. I was the last one standing project where we worked with which at that time was $300,000 a year. So far, last year we have one bill at 67. So a major component of this and the initial motivation was just to move toward renewable energy. And then when the Resambit grant became available, we realized we could extend it to not just renewable energy, but some other sustainable projects. So things like waste management, what kind of cleaning chemicals are we using? You know, if we remodel a building, we can do replace all the lights with LED. As we were right, I realized we don't even have a plan for being sustainable. Now we also have the Sustainable Development Goals to kind of lead the framework. And if you look around the world, especially in the US, this isn't reinventing new. They've been in some schools for almost 20 years. I was on a committee 15 years, a couple years before I came here, to this plan that we're hoping to have you all help us plan. And so we really need the stakeholders, faculty, staff, students, to first of all, kind of set the groundwork. Where are we today? What are we doing? Are we doing anything sustainable at all? What do you think? Have anything we're doing that is sustainable currently? We have one small $17,000 solar array, courtesy again of Green Tech and Island Offsets and our group who gave us a grant a couple of years ago. We aren't currently recycling cans, although we have done that in the past. We use a lot of paper, we're not monitoring electricity, so we've had some really small stuff. So the purpose of that grant is, again, first of all, renewable energy. Second, we have money, several $100,000 to retrofit some buildings to save energy costs, so insulation, IR value windows, things like that. And also to input some sensors into the building so we can actually figure out what's going on. So water meters, air quality meters, and especially electric sub-meters. Because we discovered, as we worked on this in 2014, we have one main feed that comes into the campus buildings, one for the hall and one for the lights. So if you're doing some modifications on the building, we have no way of even knowing how much energy that building is using. And then once we get all the sensors in place, we're developing this sustainability plan, which you all hopefully will want to embrace and be part of, in order to set our goals for how we can move more towards being sustainable for the future. Once we get all the sensors in place, once we have our solar panels up and running and the electricity being generated, one will generate about 25 to 30,000 a year for other sustainability projects. And then secondly, once we have those meters in place, we're going to connect that to a digital library. So our hope is to turn the campus into what's called a living laboratory. And the living laboratory is where you help students understand how your university functions, what's going on with the buildings, what their own individual carbon footprint, but also what impact they're making. Are we using plastic water bottles here? Or do we provide drinking fountains where students can refill a bottle? Do we have shut-off valves on the water faucets? What kind of legs are we using? And then all that data is made available on a digital library that will provide opportunities for other teachers, researchers to use that data and create lesson plans or case studies showing an example of how we're using our resources here. And connected with that, then we also hope to develop a Center for Sustainability and Innovation to start looking at some technologies that could be more sustainable for. So for example, one thing we're hoping to do is get the individual glass crushers and start taking glass bottles and converting them to sand. Because as you know, the government is planning to spend $20 million to buy sand, probably from the Bahamas, probably digging out from the mangroves, and moving it here to the point of 7 Mile Beach. But we generate over 600 tons of glass a year. That's a lot of sand that can be produced. And I don't know if any of you saw the project in the paper where we're actually importing 10 tons of sand to be put into the mangrove to help restore the mangrove trees. If each school or each hotel had these small glass crushers, which only cost about $5,000, and learn those technologies, and everyone's contributing to the sand. The center will lead to some new things like that as well. So, current status, we have actually completed an energy audit that let us know what's going on in the buildings. We also have made commitments to the solar array, to consultants to write our sustainability plan, who you hear from later. And we're well on the way to completing most of the goals. We still have a couple of things. The digital library isn't sorted out yet. That's later on, and that's the last thing that will happen. But most of the other goals, we're well on the path to accomplishing what we set out to do. And the original concept note for this was written 4 years ago. And since then, we've been through 3 presidents, several meetings, and provost and vice president. So they're kind of a long story there. And I'll let you. Oh, did you want to talk about the extension?
That's our last slide. So you could see that as a last slide.
Thank you, Dean Tracy Hargrave and Dr. Beal, for that detailed overview. Please join me now in welcoming Chad Powell Jr., who is a UCCI student and a member of Protect Our Future. We wanted to have Chad join us this morning, as it's important for us to hear a student voice that asks his peers and share with us how he can be more involved in this work at UCCI. Chad, please join us.
Thank you for having me here. Really glad to be here, not just on behalf of myself, but from the perspective of students as well. It's a great pleasure for you this morning to celebrate UCCI's Sustainability Stakeholder Workshop, designed to inform our comprehensive environmental plan. As a student attending UCCI, it's heartwarming to see such a wide range of stakeholders represented at this forum today. All of us enjoy the beautiful sea, sun, and sand that the Cayman Islands has to offer. Visitors, residents, and Caymanians, and all of us marvel at the variety of marine and terrestrial resources that we have at our fingertips. I recently went on a trip over to Jamaica, and I can't tell you the amount of times that I brought up Cayman, somebody would tell me about a nice beach that they had been to, or a great place that they had found, and how beautiful our island was. Well, however, despite the beauty, as a small group of islands in the Caribbean, we are challenged with the vulnerabilities of the climate change, disasters going on, and biodiversity, extreme weather conditions, sea levels rising, sea acidity going up, and coral bleaching. So many more. These are just the few that I can name right now. The need for action is therefore urgent, and our generation's eyes see this, and we want to step forward. And today is a step in the right direction. Sustainable development is defined by the UN as concentrated efforts towards building an sustainable and resilient future, not only for the people, but for our planet. In other words, what we can do to meet the needs of today without sacrificing the health of tomorrow. Sustainable effort calls for unity on these efforts, not just having these great ideas, but having people willing to listen to the minds of the youth and the experts as well, to take these ideas forward into just ideas, just talking at the dinner table, into what people talk about at the dinner table, actions, things that have passed. As part of the future generation of Caymanians, we are thrilled to be a part of this groundbreaking initiative, which is intended to foster greater awareness amongst our youth with respect to the environment and the local community. In a world where the climate crisis is more than just real, there's no better time than this to introduce, implement, measure, and monitor how we use our energy and water. After all, to know is the first step to fixing. That's why we go to the doctor. That's why we check in on everyone else to make sure that we're doing okay. Because first we have to know that we're not. The students of UCCI envision a world where we can enjoy nature and ecosystem services for years to come, but we have to change our mentality for that to happen. Everyone here is an example of someone who's willing to listen, someone who has showed up because they are here to listen to what we want and what we need, what this future needs. And I urge all of you to not just sit here and listen, but to think about the things that have been said here, are going to be said here, and about these initiatives, and to give this initiative and initiatives like these your support. Because the future is not something that we can look back and say, this has worked before, let's keep on doing this forever. No, we're going to need new ideas, we're going to need change, but change isn't going to come from a formula that's tried before. We are going to have to break the way. We're going to have to cut our own bush down and make our own path to forge a way into a brighter, better, and more sustainable future.
Very well articulated. Thank you so much, Chad. And really thanks for contextualizing the vulnerabilities of Caribbean small island developing states and non-independent territories like the Cayman Islands and the importance of resilience building. Just as a way of a segue, happy independence to my Barbadian colleagues, and I just wanted to plug that in there because some of you may or may not know in 1992 we had the Rio Summit, and 2 years later we had something that was very instrumental, the Barbados Program of Action, coming out of that in 1994, which spoke about the vulnerabilities and the need for resilience building. And today we see the advocacy of Prime Minister Mia Mottley and what she's doing on the global stage for this conversation about the resilience and the need to improve on and adaptation. Ms. Crossman Johnson, manager at the Department of Environmental. 4 remarks. Ms. Crossman, the Public and Environmental. Crossman Johnson, thank you, is a public and environmental practitioner who has a wealth of management and leadership. She has been at the management and consultant level for the past 10 years and possesses a master's of the Cayman Islands, a post created for better coordination of the technical programs and done by the environmental health officers in their roles in the area of food safety, district sanitation, and road health. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Crossman.
All protocols observed. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am happy to be here, and when I met with Julian, it was a pleasure. I was introduced to this project. It seemed like a really, really great project, and I've seen others around the Caribbean, and they have worked very well, and I'm hoping on behalf of everybody that it works well. This morning, charged with the responsibility to speak about the Department of Environmental Health's role in sustainability in the Caribbean, why the Caribbean, but to the Cayman Islands itself, right? So as was Carol Crossman Johnston, Manager for Environmental Health in the Department of Environmental Health. And I must say, before I even go into the presentation, that sustainability in the Cayman Islands is actually driven by the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience. So I do not intend to take on the role of being the champion for sustainability within the Cayman Islands. The Department of Environmental Health is just one of the departments that works towards having sustainability in this country. My slides are being advanced on this. Okay, when I have a slide here, they're not being advanced here, so to be able to see. Okay, I'm really sorry about all of this technical difficulty. Forgive me, not my fault. Right? Okay, so in terms of when we look at overall environmental protection, and there are a number of aspects to environmental protection, and they're outlined here on the screen. So there's protection of ambient waste management, noise and vibration abatement, protection against radiation, wastewater management, protection and remediation of soil, groundwater, and surface water issues, and protection of biodiversity and landscape. In order for us to have environmental protection, though, there is a need for interagency collaboration, interagency efforts. So what I've done here is I've laid out the key agencies. There are other agencies within the Cayman Islands that are working towards environmental protection, but these are the key agencies: the Department of Environmental Health, and they're not really in order of priority. Let me just see. So we have the Department of Environmental Health, and we manage solid waste and protect both the environmental and public health. There's a Department of Environment, and I will not attempt to speak on their behalf. There's also the Water Authority, the Department of Public Works, Royal Cayman Islands, the Planning Department, as well as the Department of Agriculture. There may be others that are not. These are the key agencies, and we work together in order for us to achieve as much environmental protection as we can currently. In terms of definition, Chad gave a really excellent definition, thank you, that's utilized by the UN in describing sustainability. And in addition to this definition, we understand we are totally cognizant of the sustainable development goals that are set out by the United States, United Nations, and we have linked our program areas within the Department of Environmental Health with a number of those sustainable development goals. So environmental health is that branch of public health that focuses on the relationship between people and the environment, promotes health, human health, and well-being, and fosters healthy and safe communities. And environmental sustainability, based on a simple definition that was given by Sparrow, is a responsibility to conserve natural resources and protect global ecosystems to support health and well-being now and in the future. So, even though it's not explicitly stated in the definition that environmental health impacts environmental sustainability, with regards to the section that is highlighted, protect our global ecosystems and to support human health and well-being now and for the future. That's one of the major goals of public health and environmental health on a whole. Environmental health, as was said in the definition, is a part of a wider public health program within the Cayman Islands and other countries. And what we do at the Department of Environmental Health is work to advance policies and programs to reduce chemical and other environmental exposure in air, water, soil, and food to protect and provide communities with healthier environments. So basically, the environmental health department is concerned with everything outside of the person that can affect an individual's health. Okay. In terms of an overview of the Department of Environmental Health's role in environmental sustainability, we're responsible for a wide range of services that promote a healthy population and a clean and safe environment for both residents and visitors. And what we do is that we test, we inspect, we monitor, educate, investigate, recycle, and manage. Our organization consists of 3 arms, basically. There's the environmental health section, the solid waste management section, as well as our management and administration arm. So I will speak for the next few minutes about environmental health and the solid waste management program area. Within the environmental health arm, there are the food safety units, the engineering unit, and the laboratory. And all 3 units are responsible for 3 major program areas, which are the district sanitation program area, the port health and quarantine, food safety and surveillance and rodent control. So that's what we do for the environmental health area. So the major sections, as I said before, health officers, who are individuals who carry out most of the responsibilities within the environmental program of the department. So what we do is that we have active surveillance of residential premises, institutions, barbers and hairdressers, food handling premises. And this active surveillance is conducted for us to be able to identify where breaches are and provide and then we ensure that we have some remedial actions taken in order for us to have control. For monitoring, we monitor for breaches on health. We also conduct education and training, as well as we provide environmental services, including rodent and fly control. And we have an enforcement arm, and we liaise with internal and external partners as well to have our that were identified in order for us to have those breaches resolved. We liaise with the other. As was mentioned before, there's an enforcement arm of the Department of Environmental Health, and we get authority from some local and international laws and regulations. Some of these are listed here, and the MARPOL Convention is one of these. We have the Public Health Act 2021, revision, the litter law, the liquor licensing law, tobacco law, the tobacco amendment regulations, the town and communities law, as well as the public health infectious waste regulation. So these are some of the regulations that gives the environmental health officers and the chief environmental health officer within the Department of Environmental Health the authority to conduct enforcement activities. For the solid waste management arm of the Department of Environmental Health, there are a number of units as well. We have our recycling unit, our collections unit, and then our biohazardous waste unit within the solid waste management program area. And we have our disposal that is done at the landfill, the Georgetown landfill. The Department of Environmental Health collects approximately 115,000 tons of refuse per year, and that is about 200 loads per day, which is 1 load for every 3 minutes. We, apart from collecting and disposing of the waste at the Georgetown landfill, we have embarked on a very ambitious program of recycling. And there are some recycling depots around the country, and they're listed here. I wouldn't go into any of them. And when our materials are recycled, they are nicely packaged and exported. Or recyclable materials, sorry, are nicely packaged and exported. And I end with a picture of where we are going, because we're well on our way. And for those persons who have visited the Georgetown landfill, who have seen the better part of the Georgetown landfill, this would represent the better part. The other side we don't see, but we're working on the other side to get as beautiful as this side. And we've actually reached to a section of our landfill that's and beautiful, right? So we're doing good. So the future is now. So there is some hope, and and the Department of Environmental Health is doing as much as we can with the resources that we have currently to control environmental health conditions within the Cayman Islands towards a sustainable environment within the country, influencing the wider area. So we stand strong, like Ms. Yolanda, our communications person, to support the programs in as much as we can based on the resources we have. So thank you very much for
Thank you very much, Mrs. Crossman Johnson. It's really great to hear that's ongoing at the Department of Environmental Health. And I just want to say, I think the solid waste management is a continued issue throughout the Caribbean region. So I listened to some of the feedback that we have here in the Cayman Islands, and I just want to assure you that the Cayman Islands is not unique in that regard. If you travel around the region, you would see many islands, even smaller ones, just as small as Cayman. You would see the size of the landfill and hear the feedback from the community, which is pretty much the same here. So happy to hear the work that is ongoing there. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Christine Young. Ms. Young has been onboarded to help UCCI develop a comprehensive sustainability plan and to help us chart a way forward with making UCCI, the UCCI campus, a model sustainability campus for others locally and regionally to emulate. Ms. Young is currently the Managing Director of Green Consulting, a sustainability company that focuses on resilience and environmental and social management systems within a variety of sectors, including but not limited to tourism, agriculture, education, energy, and health. With over 15 years experience in hospitality and tourism operations, sustainability, health and safety, she has proven time and again to be a valuable resource to companies across the Caribbean region, including 5-star resort groups, private sector organizations, educational institutions, government groups, and not-for-profit organizations. She's an adjunct lecturer at the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality School and sits on the board of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association's Sustainability Committee as the co-chair. She's also a board member of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. As an accredited and seasoned Green Globe 21 auditor, and more recently, an Earth Checkmaster trainer, she continues to work within communities to ensure resilience and sustainability within the tourism and related sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Christine Young as she joins us here.
Good morning, everyone, and all protocols observed. I just want to say good morning and welcome. It is a pleasure for me to be here. I think I'll stand on this side. I feel a little closer to you guys on this side. Is this okay with the microphone? It is a pleasure for me to be here. I just don't want any distance between us. I want to be able to impart information freely. All right. So this morning we're all excited to be here. We have a number of stakeholders. Some of you are internal, your family, and we have some new family, which we welcome, Mrs. Crossman and Mrs. Carvalho, and we have Doug coming up shortly. So we're happy to have all persons on board. As Dr. Beal mentioned, this is a collaborative effort, so we all have to be on board to be sold to this cause. All right, so let's start with the presentation. So some of the key outcomes which were mentioned before, the ASHRAE level report, energy audit, the comprehensive environmental sustainability plan, which you'll hear a little bit about from me this morning, energy efficiency measures in 5 campuses, the solar array, UCCI living laboratory, and then empowering the students and the community. So we went through those already. All right, so just a little, I am a lecturer as well, so just a little bit of basic knowledge on sustainability. Most persons, when they hear about sustainability, they think about the environmental aspect, but we also have the economic aspect of things, and we also have the social aspect. So I just put this little pyramid, this little Venn diagram, I can't remember what you call it. But you'll have a look at that. So if you don't remember anything else, just remember what sustainability is and the definitions. All right, so some of the outputs of the sustainability consultancy, which is number 1, the development of a knowledge, attitude, perception, and behavior survey. And we thought that this survey would have been effective because we really need to understand, apart from knowing facts, we also need to understand and appreciate what is the behavior and the, sort of like the culture towards sustainability at this point in time, the knowledge, the attitude, the perceptions, and the behaviors. So we will be launching a survey in this, and that was going to be following afterwards. So we are, trying to encourage you from now, when you see the survey, please kindly fill them out for us. Thank you very much. We also have this 2-day sustainability workshop, which we're doing now, and then the sustainability plan. So some of the objectives are to engage and to serve the diverse academic and social needs and interests of the university community, to provide a roadmap for UCCI to enhance its sustainability practices through benchmarking, monitoring, and evaluation, and you'll hear a little bit about that afterwards. To promote synergistic collaborations and partnerships, which is why we appreciate the input and the buy-in from everyone here this morning, and to identify and address the specific issues associated with the sustainable development of the university through recommendations. So the basic methodology, sort of how we have it planned out, is that the first phase of the consultancy will be an inception report. The second phase will be the survey, data collection, and also stakeholder consultations. So apart from this session that we're doing here, we are also going to have one-on-one consultations and also focus group sessions. Phase 3, SWOT gap analysis workshop. The sustainability workshop as well. Then we'll have monitoring and evaluation framework in collaboration with our meal consultant, who you'll hear from later on. Then phase 5, development of the goals and objectives. Phase 6, which will be the draft final report, and then phase 7, where we celebrate final report and also get your feedback. All right, so this is just basically what we'll be doing: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as pertains to what is happening now. What are the strengths? What are we currently doing now? What are some of the external threats? What are some of the weaknesses? Where do we need to go? What are the opportunities? And one of the opportunities that I see as well, which I didn't really put on the slides, but is using the whole technology and AI and whatnot to advance the cause. All right, so we have the gap analysis here. So for the gap analysis, we'll be looking at legislative gaps, administrative gaps, financial gaps, technical gaps, and capacity gaps, right? Because we need to know where we're at, where we need to go, what are the gaps that we need to bridge. All right, and of course, data collection, and as you guys heard, I'm also an auditor, so we're very, we're very firm on the data collection, if we have any, and also if we don't have, making proper estimates of what it is that's the current situation, and then also stakeholder consultations, because we want to have a collaborative approach. And so the stakeholder engagement will be on a regional level. We have the internal stakeholders. Most of you are here, our internal stakeholders. We'll also have the external stakeholders, and also engaging the regional ones as well, so other universities and regional institutions. Because we want to approach this not just in a territorial way, we want to be able to exchange within the region and outside of the region as well. It's not. Just one moment, please. He's continuing with that. So the workshop is actually, today is going to be the internal stakeholders, and tomorrow we invite persons from government and suppliers, etc. So we have everybody pretty much on board, because we want to also find out from you sustainability from your perspective, right? Somebody who's a supplier would see sustainability very differently from somebody who's a student, and I was very happy that Chad was here this morning to share his perspective and his views, because it is important for us to hear from the future generation as well. Thank you. All right, so the thematic areas that we will be looking at are energy efficiency, we're looking at water efficiency, waste management, sustainable procurement, biodiversity conservation, people, culture, and community. So we did mention in that little diagram that we had initially that the social aspect of things are also important, governance and external partnerships, health, safety, and wellness, that's also very important, and also the general campus operations. So I wouldn't go through these at length, but just to say that the energy efficiency is basically the use of less energy to perform the same task or produce the same results. So for example, if we have a 9-watt LED, it produces the same amount of light as a 60-watt incidence lamp, but only uses, for example, 85% less energy. So energy efficiency can be extended to all areas on the campus, right? It's not only achieved through replacing old equipment with new efficiency, but also through changes in usage pattern. So a lot of people think when it comes to energy or sustainability that it has to be in, new fixtures in every single situation, but what we also have to try to change is the behavior, yeah? So it includes, not limited to energy efficient LED bulbs, energy saving programs, which promote behavioral changes such as switching off the lights and equipment settings to conserve energy. And then we are looking also at sustainable energy, which is a form of energy that can be utilized again and again without putting the source in danger of getting depleted. All right, so we went through a bit of this already and some of the things that we're doing here. The ASHRAE report, which was done, manual switching off of lights is done, as most of you would know. Gradual changing of the LED bulbs, right? So that's not entirely complete, but we're getting there. Manual monitoring of the energy consumption. So I know Dr. Beal also mentioned about putting new systems in place, such as a building management system, for example, where we can monitor the electricity and energy and so forth remotely, right? Which is pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right. So the sustainability plan will also look at ways in which energy conservation strategies can be improved in that way. So some of the challenges: large number of air-conditioned spaces, limited natural ventilation, but all of that we will be looking at and making the necessary changes. And then also lack of energy awareness, right? So persons are just not really aware of what they need to do, right? Simple things like even if you have to order some sort of equipment, you could use Energy Star rated equipment, which is an eco-label, right? So we have limited finances, but based on the RISIMBID and the funds there, we are going to try to make it work. All right, so energy conservation goals: implement at least 60% of the recommendations from the energy audit that was done, reduce electricity and energy consumption index below 9 kilowatts per hour, implement campus-wide energy awareness campaign, excuse me, establish an energy management committee as well, which incorporates staff and students working in unison to monitor and to reduce the energy consumption and generate 15% of the facility energy consumption via a renewable energy source by 2025. So these are some of the carbon reduction, of course, the footprinting by 20%, right? So, and with the carbon footprinting, as some of you might know, we look at scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, which basically requires a lot of data collection. So if we're not collecting the data, that's one of the first steps that we'll have to do to lead towards the whole carbon footprinting. Okay, and then in terms of water efficiency, that looks at the conservation of water throughout the entire campus. And of course, we use water for washing, for cleaning, flushing toilets, etc. Water conservation would include the implementation of water-saving fixtures, such as aerators, faucets, with sensors, low flush and dual flush toilets. We have some of these things implemented, because some of you will know if you go to the bathroom, you press it, the water is going to run for a limited amount of time. But that is something that we have to work on to to get it really up to par and to ensure that it maximizes the water saving, right? So the program will also include sub-metering and implementation of leak detection meters. So these things we don't have currently, right? And I just put a little statistic here, some little facts. A dripping tap leaking 10 drops of water each minute adds up to 90 liters or more over a month. And just to get an idea of what that looks like, that's like running your shower for 9 minutes. Just it running for 9 minutes, which is a lot of water, right? So we really have to get that in place as well to monitor leaks. And we might think that leaks might be just the pipes, leaking in front of us, but sometimes it's underground, places you can't see, all right? And then waste, one of my favorite topics. Mrs. Crossman and Mrs. Cavallo. So I'm really elated to have you guys here this morning as well. So some of the waste streams that we have here, and this is just some, the paper, the plastics, aluminum cans, food waste, some of the chemicals used in the lab, equipment, electronics and e-waste, food wrappings, glass, medical equipment waste like sharps, landscaping waste, to name a few, right? So one of the things we're going to have to do as it pertains to waste is not only to try to reduce the amount of waste that's being sent to the landfill, but also to reduce the amount of waste that we produce in the first place. And that will require us having to do a waste audit where we look at the waste streams and then we quantify it. So at the moment, we're not currently doing that, but that is where we want to head. All right? So waste is not currently separated, as I just mentioned, or recycled for the most part. The majority, persons may do it here and there. It's a little bit ad hoc, right? So waste is not currently also measured or monitored consistently. and the majority of the waste goes to the landfill. So some separation of electronic waste is also done, but on an ad hoc basis. So we have to be a little bit more consistent with that, the battery waste as well. So the waste management culture that we want to change is to go with the 4 R's, which is rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we'll actually get into the first one, which is rethink, where you actually look at the purchases that you make, and you make the, you have to think of everything that you purchase from a cradle to grave perspective. So you're going to buy something, so don't buy it in the first place if it's something that's going to be harmful for the environment, or if it will need to be recycled. Okay, so sustainable procurement, and also some of these, if you see on the slides, I would have matched them up with the SDG goals, right? So this one here, the sustainable procurement matches up with the SDG goal 12, right? So the screening of suppliers to ensure that they're using products that are environmentally friendly or biodegradable, or that they cause little harm to the environment and to human health. Also working with suppliers on improving goods and services that work synergistically with our sustainability program, and purchasing products with verified eco-labels where possible. And just a quick point on this, something that happened with me a couple of years ago. Sometimes we have suppliers, and if the suppliers don't know exactly what we want or what we're looking for, they don't know what to offer, right? I remember working at a hotel and went to see the supplier, and only when we mentioned to the supplier that we have an environmental program, they mentioned to us that, well, hey, you don't have to get this in plastic packaging. We actually have glass packages that you could use for the yogurt. So when you open those conversations, it causes change. All right, so purchasing in bulk and larger packaging where possible to reduce the waste, purchasing local and also purchasing certified and approved suppliers where possible from them, elimination of single-use plastics and styrofoams. And if you see our event today, we've spared a lot of effort, the planning team, to ensure that our cups and our packaging and everything is environmentally friendly, as we are setting the standard for the new normal for UCCI, and supporting the circular economy in general. Consider purchasing products that also don't support things like child labor. Sometimes we purchase a product, we don't know, it was made in South Africa from children who have to go down a whole child labor. So it's important for us to also research these things and find out about it. All right. And just some small examples I picked up here while on the property. So Fabrizone is one of the our cleaning professionals used at UCCI. So they use, for the most part, environmentally friendly chemicals. And yes, I had a look at least 10 of the chemicals, looking at their safety data sheets. It's compliant with OSHA 29, and it also contains no hazardous components under the current OSHA definitions for the most part. Then we also have this water, which is Le Bleu, and they use ozonation as just one step in their 5-step purification process to provide the cleanest and safest bottled water. And then, of course, something like Bounty. These are just to give you all some examples of some suppliers and some best practices as pertains to that. So Bounty has a commitment to the environment. So if you look up on their site as well, you'll see quite a number of things that they're doing. And then even the copy paper. We were mentioning about a lot of paper, right? We want to reduce the paper, yes, but at least from the research done on those 2 types of papers, which you all would be very familiar with, we see that one of them, the iCopy, is ISO compliant, Forest Stewardship Council certified. So these are the eco labels that I mentioned that you have to always look out for. The certified paper contains recycled paper, so it does not have to. So certified paper is paper that has been harvested in a responsible manner, just FYI. And then also the other paper, it says, they have an environmental and a social sustainability policy. Okay, and then as pertains to biodiversity conservation, which is one of the other thematic areas, we just have to ensure that at UCCI we don't do anything that harms the flora and fauna on the campus or in the neighboring community. We want to use environmentally friendly chemicals also for pest control, for treatment of the plants, and any other activities that we have to do. Highlighting the flora and the fauna of concern that exists on the property. So if we have anything from the green parrots, I know we have the national bird, the chickens, but apart from those, we want to be able to, if we do have anything of importance here, and it's funny because when I'm done doing this work throughout, a number of years, sometimes persons don't even realize some species of importance that they may have on the property. So we want to be able to highlight that as well, right? Highlight efforts as well by the university to promote biodiversity above land and below the sea, coral reefs, wetlands, and coastal areas, which is what Dr. Beal had mentioned about before. And then collaborations with local and regional environmental nonprofit groups that support biodiversity conservation, such as endangered species. And there are a number of them, especially, that are dedicated to the protection of sea turtles. And then, as it relates to people, culture, and community, in line with the SDG goal of 8 and 10, we want to ensure that our actions at UCCI don't interfere with the cultural fabric of the island, right? Highlight efforts by the university to promote cultural traditions and practices, and that pertains to foods and whatnot, because you will have persons coming in from the outside, and we want to be able to highlight these things to them. Also, educational awareness of history and culture, and collaborations with local and environmental nonprofit groups that support cultural and historic initiatives, right? So creating an environment that is also diverse and inclusive, and that pertains to being inclusive as well for persons living with disabilities, etc. So shifting also the campus culture and sensitization levels as it pertains to sustainability and environmental awareness. And then we look at governance and external partnerships. So ensuring that UCCI engages in strategic partnerships to achieve its goals and objectives, highlighting efforts by the university to promote collaborations and partnerships. And as we mentioned, we have some of our partners here this morning, those that we want to collaborate with. And we are going to have a session tomorrow where we will bring on board some more stakeholders that we want to include in this entire process. We want it to be as collaborative as possible. The university was very clear that that is one of the essential goals that they're looking towards having, right? Because it's easy to get a consultant to come and write a sustainability report, but we want it to be very inclusive and very collaborative, right? We want to hear from you. And also creating a cross-sectoral working group to implement the sustainability plan. So that cross-sectoral working group is going to, evolve over a period of time. And we will have representatives from each sector, the private sector, the government, environmental health, sustainability, etc., to ensure that the plan that we come up with is going to be as robust as possible. And then we have health, safety, and wellness. So that is ensuring that our activities at UCCI are also in keeping with best practices that relates to health and safety. So that's like fire safety, food safety, etc. Designing a health wellness program to promote a hazard-free and a disease-free environment, and also educational awareness of common health issues, things that we suffer from, high blood pressure, cancer, etc., diabetes, and raising awareness on campus of those things. And I see that you have some of those things happening now, but we just want to highlight it and to make it more streamlined. Also, collaborations with local and regional partners such as PAHO, PAHO, and World Health Organization. And then, of course, the campus operations itself, contributing to SDG goal number 4, which is quality education, just enriching the life of the students, empowering the students, mentoring them, also the facilities and the activities that we will be offering and have to offer, currently geared towards the development of the students and delivering value-add products as part of the being enrolled in UCCI, right? So the creation of the sustainability labs, which we heard about before, use of artificial intelligence, which I'm all for to advance the campus objectives. And that is basically it. So I had the slide here, green is a trend, but sustainability is a mindset, right? So we have to bear that in mind. We have to shift our mindset towards that sustainability with the 3 pillars, and I think we'll be okay. All right, so thank you very much for your time.
Thanks again, Christine. Really appreciated your recap and refresher. And really happy to see that we reflected. Some of you would recall the launch. We had a number of mini plastic water bottles. So we've already begun with the sustainable procurement and responsible consumption and the thrust toward the change in knowledge, attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. James Whitaker, who is no stranger to many of us in this room. He's been a key ally of UCCI in many of our sustainability efforts over the past several years, and someone we have relied on to give us advice or help and connect us to others in the sector. With over 20 years experience working in the financial services sectors of the Cayman Islands, New York, and Bermuda, he's currently the president of the Cayman Renewable Energy Association, chairman of Cayman Islands Government's Energy Policy Council, and a member of the Cayman National Energy Policy Committee. A true pioneer of sustainability and renewable energy in the Caribbean region, he brings a unique blend of analytical thinking, public and private sector experience, relentless passion, and inspired ideas with the goal to positively impact lives by sustainably transforming the built environment. Following his passion and entrepreneurial instincts, in 2010, he created the Green Tech group of companies, which provides a full range of sustainability solutions, which include design and installation of renewable energy systems, designing LED certified and zero energy homes and buildings, as well as the Caribbean's only regional distribution network for green products and technologies. Today, Green Tech is the market leader in renewable energy and sustainable design in the Cayman Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. James Whitaker.
Morning, everybody. I don't have a presentation prepared, but I was asked to say a few words, which I'm happy to do for UCCI, about sustainability, in particular from my stakeholder perspective. And so, depending on who you ask, I'm the most conflicted person in energy in this country. I wear all the hats. So I'm the CEO of Green Tech, so we are a market supplier and participant. We've been around since 2008. We've installed most of the solar systems in this country to date. In addition to that, I founded CREA, the Cayman Renewable Energy Association, in 2015. And CREA, unlike some renewable energy associations, it's not an association of solar companies. It is advocates, so just people who want to see energy transition happening in Cayman, as well as industry. And one of the things that I realized many years ago when I transitioned from finance to what I do now is that at a national level, sustainability is something that everybody buys into conceptually, but the rubber meets the road when it comes down to policies, laws, and regulations. And that's where the real fights happen. And so the association, one of the first things we did in Cayman years ago is we pushed for a national energy policy, a cohesive document that all of these ideas about sustainability could be brought together in a clear direction. That was implemented in 2017, and we have been trying to execute on that policy ever since. I've sat on the Government's Energy Council since its inception about 6 years ago, and I was made the chairman about 2 years ago. And one of the things that I'll say in regards to sustainability, at least at a national level, is it's a lot about creating stakeholder alignment. And that is much harder than it sounds. You do have vested interests where if I wanted to put solar on every roof on UCCI right now, I could not. Everybody in this room probably agrees that you should be able to do that. Everybody in this room probably agrees that you should be able to consume that solar energy and reduce your bills dramatically and buy from the grid what you need. But you also have to understand the context that that diminishes profitability from another key stakeholder. And so creating alignment amongst all of these different stakeholders is part of the challenge, but it's also part of the opportunity. It can be done, it has been done in other jurisdictions, but myself and people that are within my association and people within the council, these are the things that we tend to wrestle with every day. And one of the key things that we want to impart in this, where I think UCCI plays a very key pivotal role, is that once we can get to a point where we do have true stakeholder alignment when it comes to renewable energy, there's going to be billions that have to be spent over the next 20 to 25 years in the sector. That's going to mean thousands of jobs in renewable energy and energy efficiency. The country is going to have to decide that they want lots of consumer choice and competition, or not-driven solutions, but that's part of the battle. But what we do know is that all of those jobs, we want locals to be able to gain the benefit of that. And I think that's one of the key areas where UCCI is a pioneer here locally. My company help teach a course here. And one of the things that I've always said to government is, when this industry really does take off, you need to make sure that your population has the skill sets and certifications to take advantage of it. And so I congratulate UCCI and Vicente. You guys have really been pioneers in that regard. And certainly we've always been happy to just to give you guys a big picture understanding from an energy perspective. Obviously, although everybody knows me for energy, my company really focused from inception on 4 areas of sustainability to the built environment. It was energy, development, agriculture, and transport. But I do spend quite a lot of my time focused on energy, because that tends to be where the biggest societal and environmental impact can be here for Cayman. But as a nation, over the last 13 years, which is when we started pursuing renewable energy in Cayman, we've only moved 3%. So today, 13 years later, 97% of our energy is still produced by fossil fuels. Other countries that started alongside us, places like Hawaii that actually started a year behind us, are already at 40, 50, 60% renewable energy. You can trace all of that back in policies, laws, and regulations, right? And so I do want to congratulate UCCI and Vicente, because we don't have enough institutions leading the charge on sustainability. A lot of these conversations happen in back rooms and political meetings, and not politics, not that I never want to do one. But it's important for institutions like UCCI to be seen to be leading the charge in sustainability and implementing what solutions those national policies and regulations allow you to do. So thank you, UCCI, again, and certainly if anybody has any questions, I look forward to conversations over the next 2 days.
I'd like to ask you a quick question.
Okay.
I just wanted to get your insight on this liquefied natural gas. Because from my perspective, only like 5 people are going to make money off of that. The companies are bringing in and CC government. Whereas if you were moved towards wind, solar, etc., you'd actually be developing a new economy. UCCI wants to be part of that. So how do we deal with, the government is now running ads with movie theaters that are moved towards sustainability. It's equal parts liquefied natural gas and solar. Is your organization going to have a policy on that, or
I spent 3 hours
am
in a
I
meeting
just like
yesterday.
reading this wrong?
No, yeah, I spent a couple hours in meetings yesterday talking about that very single issue. I don't have a fundamental aversion to LNG. It is cleaner than diesel, depending on which study you read. Depending on which study you read, total emissions isn't necessarily that much cleaner. The fundamental problem we have with LNG is that it's not a matter of, okay, let's switch to diesel to LNG. We're going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars as a country on infrastructure to support LNG. The utility doesn't get to make money off of the fuel. They don't make money on diesel, they don't make the propane, they wouldn't make money off propane. When you see your bills every month, you see that thing that says fuel charge. The fuel cost is a pass-through to us. So the utility doesn't lose or make money by doing it. It's one of the reasons why we haven't transitioned fast enough, because the utility bears no pain if oil prices shoot up. It's on us. It's not on the utility, it doesn't affect profits. If it did affect profits, you'd see us transitioning to more stable forms of energy much quicker. But the issue is the money that we have to spend and the infrastructure that we have to spend when we could have been spending that on renewables. So the people who advocate for that will say, well, you know, we could save $500 million over 20 years if we go from LNG versus diesel. But that actually isn't the metric. It's LNG versus renewables, not LNG versus diesel. But they try to frame it that way because it then sounds logical. And of course, we all want to save 500 million, but what happens if you went to renewables and you save 800 million, right? And so part of it is there are entrenched interests that want to see LNG because keep in mind, although the utility doesn't make money from fuel, they do make money from infrastructure. So the one fuel that they can invest in and make millions of dollars in return is LNG, because it's the one thing that you have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to put an infrastructure for. And so I don't have an aversion to something that might be a bit cleaner. Our aversion to it is the fact that we as consumers are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on something that we could be spending on something that's far more beneficial, far more sustainable. And I think that's kind of the fundamental argument. Will those arguments win out? Well, the current national energy policy that is now drafted and updated that we've all been battling over is soon going to land on the desk of the politicians here in the next few weeks, and ultimately they're going to have to make some decisions as to which road they go down. So that's one of the key ones. There's quite a few key battle areas, but that's LNG is one of them. So there's a proposal from us in national energy policy that there is a mandate that there are no new fossil fuel investments going forward, period. And of course, that kills the LNG conversation and the powers that we've been putting in. And so I don't know exactly which way it's going to swing. If you have influence from politicians, then certainly weigh in. But that's where that is now. I don't support it. If Cayman had infrastructure that we could just simply transition from LNG from diesel to LNG, I don't think we have that much issue with it. But we are, financial resources aren't unlimited. If we have to spend $200 or $300 million, it's best we spend that on renewables and not on LNG. My other thing is to just from a purely practical perspective, do you really think in 15, 20 years, when you spend $200, $300 million on infrastructure, that the utility is just going to give that infrastructure up? You're not going to give that up. You're going to, there's a thing called stranded assets. No utility wants stranded assets. And so we're going to have to battle to now redirect our efforts from this LNG infrastructure that 20 years ago we spent all this money on. We can't just leave it now if we want to transition to renewables. So I don't think it's a wise thing to do. I just came back from Hawaii with the government about a month and a half ago. Hawaii was under the same pressure 13 years ago to move to LNG. They passed a law saying absolutely not, we're going 100% renewable by law, by penalty of going to jail if you don't do it. And today Hawaii is the world leader in renewable energy. And if you ask the governor and the senator and even the CEO of the utility, their view is we would like to not go to LNG. That was 13 years ago. How do we go today? And so it's not a settled matter. It's still quite up in the air, and there's arguments on both sides. And, I think we'll find out soon what we're going to do with regards to LNG. If we want to do things, we're going to go with LNG. We're not going to go with any fossil fuel, new expenditure on fossil fuels, or we'll kick the can down the road and see what happens.
Well, it really matters to our training programs because of the different technologies that we should be training to do that program. Which other direction we decide to go.
Yeah, and even if we went with LNG, and I mean, I don't think it's a wise thing to do, but even if we went with LNG, that still would not negate the fact that we still have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in the near term on renewables, right? It's just that it would extend the amount of time that we're tied to fossil fuels. And until we reach 50, 60, 70% renewable energy, very, very high levels of renewable Cayman, that you then have to start talking about what are we going to do for base load power, we're going to spend money now on the gen sets. Because right now renewable technology, if we're being honest, can't get us to 100% renewable energy. It can get us close. You can probably get to 70, 80% at most. But at some point, when the wind isn't blowing, the sun isn't shining for 2-3 weeks at a time, battery energy storage can only carry you so far. You need something what's called long duration energy storage. You need weeks of power, not hours and days of power. And that technology is now starting to become commercialized. So things like green hydrogen. But the truth is, by the time we are able to get to 60-70% renewable energy, that stuff will be fully commercialized. We'll be able to deal with that then. So instead of spending money, $200 million in LNG, let's spend $200 million on hydrogen later on down the line after we've already gotten to a high penetration of renewables. So that's our view of it. There are people that will disagree with that. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Mr. Whitaker. I was trying to signal you because you prefaced your comments by saying you're one of the most conflicted persons, and I know we're live streaming this. So when you got into that discussion about the gaps in the legislative and policy space, I was giving you a little wave to.
It's nothing they haven't heard.
But 3% in 13 years, that's really, really a major disappointment. But again, it's a challenge that we experience throughout the Caribbean region. And I do hope that we don't wait until it's very late to make decisions that would gain some traction and some movement in the policy space. But if not for us, for the sake of youngsters like Chad Powell, who we heard from this morning. So thanks once again, and moving right along, we're very pleased to have Mr. Doug Brown here today. And Mr. Brown is the Organic Recycling Supervisor at Junk Cayman. He will share Junk Cayman's perspective and support for environmental initiatives at UCCI, and I suppose that would involve getting into the discussion about the policy space as well, and ensuring that our work here is not in vain if what we do doesn't mesh with what is happening in the policy and legislative arena.
Thank you. I'm Wainani. That is a term to say good morning in Zimbabwe. It is a Shona word. I'm Zimbabwean and I'm a long way from home. But we have sustainability there as we do here. And that is my passion, sustainability. I'm going to get straight into it. Junk recycling started in 2013. It was primarily a company that collected fridges and furniture, etc., and organized them to be recycled, to be sold on, or to be and we did this, but then we realized in 2016 that the most important factor that we should be working on is recycling, because the government had started with us a recycling program, which was started with all the supermarkets where people could go for free and hand in recyclables. And the government decided that they were going to take this initiative on their own and gave us the mandate to then do all the collections of recyclables in the Cayman Islands. In 2019, I came on board to help with Andrew Bodden, who is my colleague. He's a Caymanian, and we have taken junk recycling from the scruff of its neck, per se, and we have got it to where we are today, which is a company that is collecting sizable quantities of recycling. The picture that you can see here is a picture of the Harbour Marina in Grand Harbour, and my dog takes me for a walk every morning. And I get to see this, and it's just, I think, an indictment of the pristine and beautiful place that the Cayman Islands is.
My name is Andrew Bodden from Junk Recycling. We're here to manage your waste.
Hi, my name is Doug Brown. I'm with Junk Recycling. We are the premier recyclers in the Cayman Islands. We currently recycle 7 recyclable types: aluminium, cardboard, glass, plastics type 1, 2, and 5. We do e-waste. We also do car batteries, small batteries. Lastly, we do HP printer and inkjet, laser jet cartridges.
If you come to Cayman, visit Cayman, to live, to work, you produce waste. Therefore, what we do and why we do it is to keep our shores clean.
That was just a little video that we have taken to try and highlight the junk and why we do it and how. This is a really good little caricature or a graphic that I use quite a bit when discussing with school children, students, and even little tiny tots as to how recycling works. And essentially, and when I say recycling, this is how recycling works for junk recycling. I must add that in points 4 and 5, we have a contract with my colleagues here at Age we provide them with clean recyclables, which they then crush and place into containers and then ship it off and to our waste management partners overseas. But what we do is we offer bins to our customers and we ask them to start the recycling process for us. So they clearly label all our bins with the recyclable types, and I'll come to what we are recycling shortly. And we ask them to please put this into the bins, and we then come every single week and we come and collect from them with our truck. We then take it to our recycling depot that we have, and we go through all the recyclings and we ensure that there is no recyclables that are contaminated or that cannot be recycled, thereby handing it over to DH. So all they have to do is to just bale it, pack it, and send it off. So it's something that we pride ourselves on doing very well. We offer various bin sizes. The smaller bins from the 6 and 16 gallon and 32 gallons are primarily used in residential and business office environments. And then for the bigger industrial users and big businesses, we have the 96 gallon bins, as well as the 2 cubic yard and 4 cubic yard. They are primarily used for cardboard and for plastics collections. Before I get onto this, we have a total of 770 16 and 18 gallon stackable bins in circulation. We have 72 32 gallons, 550 96 gallons, 4 2 cubic yards and 18 4 cubic yard bins that we are utilizing at present. We have 350 points for 280 customers that we are collecting from every single week. And we have customers that have come on board. The Marriott Hotel is one of our biggest clients. They're producing 6 tons a month of recyclables, which are processed and then handed over to DEH. We've just taken on, and I'm very proud to say, the Cayman National Bank, our national bank, and they are wanting to be sustainable and have chosen the recycling route, and we are implementing that from the 1st of December. They have all their bins in place, and they are so excited to be part of being sustainable in the Cayman Islands. We do 7 types of recyclables: glass, bottles and jars, and I'll come back to that just now. We do plastic types 1 and 2. We've also introduced plastic type 5. We're the only people that recycle it. We have a conduit that we can export type 5 with our e-waste that we are doing. We also do aluminium cans and corrugated and stiff cardboard. The other two products that I mentioned is batteries, and most of those go to DH. We also do HP printer cartridges, which we refill and which we organize to send back to the States presently to be refilled, etc., so we can sell on reused or used charges. Sorry, cartridges. I do apologize. We have, when we're looking at getting somebody on board, we do a review and we sit and chat and we talk and we understand what their requirements are. Some people don't do glass, some people don't do cardboard, some people do all of them. They do a lot of it, like the Marriott. Then you get me, who just does a little bit, and I do my 7 little things and from home. So we tailor-make proposals for each and every customer that we have. This particular plan here, and you might recognize it, that this is very place that we have here. We're in negotiations with the UCCI right now to undertake their recycling. And what we've done is we've given them an understanding of where we think that the bins, etc., should be placed so that it can be best utilized by the students and staff on campuses. Junk recycling is very strong in educating. I've just been chatting to my colleague from DEH today, and we need to foster more communications between the two of us to work on schooling. We are doing it separately at present, but I do believe that together we can actually do a much better job to get our youth, they are our future, to understand the various aspects of sustainability, of which recycling is one. We also cooperate with the Cayman Islands government. We've got a contract with them, and we assist and we discuss on new innovations, etc., that we may come up with to ensure that what we do here is going to be done correctly. We also try and maintain effective machinery, etc., to ensure that we are sustainable, and we're constantly looking at new innovations that we can go for. The problem is that, like anywhere, Cayman Islands is a small town, anywhere else in the world, and I don't mean that unkindly. It's wonderful that we are, but to try and have all the fancy things and the great things that we can use for recycling is going to be hugely expensive, and so we are trying to do the best that we can with the funds and with the environment that we have. We are also involved in the community in terms of doing certain environmental research and finding new ways of how we can use recyclables to be sustainable. And to this end, myself and 4 other people have got together and we have started a group called Glassroots, and our aim is to take an asset, or should I say an environmental hazard, like glass. It is the most voluminous of all the recyclables that we have. And earlier on, it was mentioned that 600 tons of glass. It's actually incorrect. That's how much we produced last year, or we handed over to DEH, who rolls them up. With the big rollers, they crush them down to a fifth of their size, so that whatever goes into the landfill is minimizing the problem that they have. But we need to do something with it. And I've got, sorry, my graphic, this is my mistake. It was in November 2022 that the glass crusher owned by Dart was actually closed. Creating a huge kickback from a lot of people, with regards to what are we going to do with our glass now? And we've got together and we started doing some research. Just from the 4 main importers of glass, we've established that they are importing 10,000 tons of glass a year, just importing it into the Cayman Islands. We believe that if you take all the supermarkets, industry, all the other businesses that bring in glass, it could be as much as 20,000 tons of glass every year. That's mountains of it. I've worked out from the figures that I've been given that 16 million beer bottles are imported into this country every year. I try hard to help towards that, I promise you. But you know, you say it's a vomiting figure. It's not only, you know, we don't beat the Germans at being consuming the most amount of alcohol, I promise you. If you extrapolate back to our population, and remembering that, of course, we have over 2 million people that visit this country every year, and all of them are thirsty because they're on holiday. But it's still a problem. It stays here. We need to do something with it. So, we got together. There's 3 of us there. Andrew, you saw in the video. Tim Austin from DOE. He's the assistant director. Lodo, the young lass at the bottom, she's our kind of leader. She comes from a banking environment. She used to do carbon credits and is passionate about the environment. And she, in fact, started driving this from the beginning and gathered us all together. And of course, there's the grumpy old fellow back there. So, and I'm not sure. But we decided we need to do something about our glass. What are we going to do? We've been, as you can see, we've been talking about our plans and what we're getting on. So we decided that glass is like sand. It's both silica based. The difference is that glass repels water and nutrient. Sand repels nutrient and moisture. Glass draws in moisture and nutrient. So it is an absolutely ideal amendment to use for growing things. There is a place in Louisiana called Glass Half Full. They are growing not mangroves, they're growing bulrushes, and they're doing exciting work in that part of the area to help with the wetlands that they've got there. Their wetlands have been denuded by as much as 80%. And they're finding now that using glass as an amendment to help grow the bulrushes, they are having exciting results that are actually working. I then sat down and I met Tim, he was at a Shark Symposium, and I said to him, can we use glass to grow mangrove? And you know, when you meet a researcher or a scientist who all of a sudden realizes and sees an opportunity, I really thought that somebody had turned on a huge light behind his eyes. It was fantastic. The glee on his face was you could feel it. And he has been absolutely fantastic in assisting us in this whole project. What we have up here is the red mangrove. 75% of the mangroves in the West Bay area and 7 Mile Beach have been denuded since 1975. They've been taken away because people are building, etc., and they get in the way of the view. So mangroves are hugely important. They are an area for where all our junior or our small fish, etc., all the little minnows and creatures, etc., they start their life there and then before going out into the ocean. So we need them for that. They dredge up all the bad stuff that is being washed into the water by rain and wherever it is. They're the first line of defense. They actually take it all up and they start feeding on it. And this basically stops the sea now getting a lot of those bad things that are going in. So they are a huge, big, important thing. As you see in the first slide, you'll see here, if I can just walk up here. This is the flower that grows. And then from there, it starts growing into what they call a popular gate, which then drops off and it goes in the sea horizontally until such time as it gets to the coast, and then it'll actually drop down, and then it starts going up and down with the tide, and eventually it starts catching into the sediment that's available. And then what happens is it starts shooting, and before you know it, it's going up and it takes root. How are we going to use sand to do this, or the glass? As you can see, what we've done is we've got burlap bags, which are biodegradable. We have filled them up. We've used a lot of the turtle grass that has come up onto the beaches and onto areas which basically a lot of people say, oh, that's not nice. So we're using it because it's a nutrient. We're mixing it together. We've made a berm, as you can see in the photograph on the top left there, which will help hold back the water or any heavy surge, etc. that may be coming through. We've planted the mangroves into it, and we've also, on the beach, we've used the sediment, we've used the glass sand, because it needs something to hold on to. And we are now at that stage. We've done the phases right up to now. This was from last weekend, and we are now waiting for the plants to grow. We believe that it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks before we actually see it start sprouting, and then between 4 to 5 weeks before it really starts holding. Now, there is what it looked like in the beginning. At the top, you can see there's plastic, etc. We had to move a whole. We actually, I think there was 59 96-gallon bins full of waste, plastic, glass, aluminium left in that area there. This is at the Barkadia boat ramp. So anybody who would like to go and have a look, please, you're most welcome to do so. But don't touch it. And you can see how it's changed by with all of the things that we planted. The glass that we got, we approached a company that has took over the machine from DART, and unfortunately they weren't able to give us any glass, and they had other uses for it. So we needed to do the research. We imported 10 tons of glass from New York State to here to ensure that we could make this project work. And we were talking earlier on about having small glass crushers and glass crushers that can turn this environmental problem into sand, and then we can turn it into an amendment that we can grow mangroves, white mangroves, black mangroves, buttonwoods. We can grow all of that stuff, and we can achieve what we need to do, and that is coastal restoration. This particular project has never been done anywhere in the world. The bulrushes growing has been done in Louisiana, but with mangroves, it's never been done. This is a world first. So we hope to, in 4 weeks' time, prove that we can do it with mangroves and with glass, which is a waste product. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to have huge ramifications, not only for Cayman, not only for the Caribbean, but for the world. And I'm just so glad that I've been a part of this. And what we would like is anybody here, please look out on our website. It's grassroots.ky. We're looking for volunteers. We've had a number of volunteers helping us already. If you'd like to come down and help us with this project and be part of making history in the Cayman Islands, guys, we'd love to have you. Please be sustainable. And my last parting words are that researchers indicated that when you get to my age, the silver fox forgets easily. Researchers indicated that recycling is the easiest way for citizens and communities to minimize climate change and the need for natural resource of the planet. Let that sink in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I think I speak for everyone else when I say we're really very humbled and indeed privileged to have you in our presence doing this pioneering work. So I want to congratulate you once again. I really just want to say thank you to all of the presenters thus far in bringing together and synthesizing the conversations and preparing us for the most important part of this morning, which is the consultation and the workshops. The workshop and the breakout session, which is why the primary reason why we are all here today. We want to get your feedback, your thoughts, your insights. So really appreciate the presenters for helping to synthesize the themes and the topics that we're here for today. We're just going to have a bit of a change in the program in the interest of time and to ensure that we get as much feedback as possible from the breakout sessions and the workshops. So I'd ask you to grab your breakfast, make it back to your seats while we prepare to welcome Dr. Lloyd with minimal disruption. So if you need to take a bathroom break as well, we ask you to do that in 5 minutes, and you can have your break while Dr. Lloyd gives her presentations, and we go straight into the workshops and breakout sessions thereafter. So please help yourselves. We resume. It's now 10:47, so 10:55 we resume.
Thank you.
What's on there? I understand. No, I didn't tell her. No, if you couldn't yes, second. Yeah, I get just also work because we have people doing it. Yeah. In other cases, you have the same thing. So here we have people who are so like yesterday, so that's how we tired.
Thank you
So
so
we
much.
based on the presentation. The day for me is 2 afternoons and then 2 hours. So in between today's the last day because we had to short it. So I work
Okay, we just just have a few more. If you can just grab your breakfast and fill out the paperwork while you're seated, please, so that we can get on with the program. Okay, so in 1 minute we'll resume. So if we can just move along with the queuing at the breakfast station. If we can just swiftly grab what you need and let's get back to the agenda. Okay, thanks everyone. It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd. She is a public health practitioner with monitoring and evaluation expertise, with over 20 years experience supporting the development of national health responses regionally and internationally. She has a thorough understanding of Caribbean regional public health issues, practicing evaluation, design and implementation, M&E systems development, leadership, training and competency building. After establishing her company, Condell Consulting, 5 years ago, she has served as an independent consultant with a wide range of international development agencies, including but not limited to the World Bank, PAHO, WHO, UNAIDS, UNESCO, and with civil society organizations, delivering a wide range of monitoring and evaluation technical services. She has gained the respect of each of these stakeholders and is well known for her professional engagement style, which demonstrates a commitment to excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. And may I say what a distinct pleasure it is to be with you in the Cayman Islands, and also for the opportunity to fulfill one of my personal life goals, which is to use my passion for monitoring and evaluation to benefit systems, including public health systems, but in your case, sustainability and environmental health. I think to this point, you have heard quite a bit about the state of affairs and the state of play in the Cayman Islands and the region. I want to highlight the critical importance in saying that not only is it important for us to witness the fantastic work that Mr. Brown and his team and so many of the other colleagues within the institution, UCCI and across Cayman Islands. I think what I want to add to the process is the perspective that if it is not measured, it is not done. And it is through monitoring and evaluation and accountability and learning that we are able to not only execute great work, but actually to document that great work for the learning of others, as well as for mutual sharing. So in the few minutes that I have, I just have about 8 slides, although I would love to talk about M&E for the entire afternoon with you. But in the few minutes that we have, I'm going to really define what do we mean by meal. As delicious as it sounds, what does it actually mean for us? And how do we go about this very important phase of monitoring and evaluating our work? We will talk a bit about its role in sustainability planning, and indeed the work that I will continue to do with Christine and the UCCI team in monitoring and evaluating the sustainability plan that you are here critically to input on. I'll also talk about the significance of monitoring and evaluation within the university context. So for UCCI, I'm drawing on some of the lessons learned and principles from other international and indeed regional universities. So what exactly is monitoring and evaluation? It actually means monitoring what we are doing, evaluating the effects of what we have done, and using those results to help us to become accountable to each other as well as to our internal and external partners. And at the end of the day, it's about learning. It's about us learning while we are doing. It's about us implementing and reflecting, and also learning from the experiences and realities from others to help us to avoid mistakes and to help us to avoid sitting in that space where we are doing what we feel comfortable doing without really knowing if what we are comfortable doing is really making a difference. So it's about learning is that last piece. I like to think of M&E or meal in terms of projects as a team of persons or individuals functioning sort of like a drone while your project is implemented. So we lift off and we sort of hover over activities as they are happening, and we take snapshots. Sometimes we may want to zoom in on something to really understand how it's operating, but oftentimes we want to zoom out so that we see the bigger picture. And it is in so doing, I use the analogy of a drone because whatever the project does, where it goes, however it flows, we want to be there, quietly, silently, observing and documenting. When I first started in M&E, we were seen as a very threatening field. And I'm sure you'll agree that I am the furthest thing from threatening, right? So M&E is not really about policing, which is what back in the day, this was the automatic response that Elizabeth or her team or the M&E people are here to show up what we are doing, to show up our deficiencies. That's really not the stance that we come from, and because my positioning is public health, it really is about improving what we are doing. Every time we do something and we repeat something that we've done before, it should be done better than it was done the last time, whether we are the ones executing or whether someone else, we want to chart a course so that someone else can also benefit from what we have done. So in terms of the textbook, it's really about establishing a framework that is used in projects such as this Resemblant project, and indeed the work of UCCI. It's about monitoring your progress. So we will design the tools and we will implement the tools to monitor what is happening. So for instance, this sustainability workshop and engagement is pretty key to this project. So you would note that we have a sign-in sheet that's passing around, where we ask for your first name, last name, email address, telephone numbers. This is not only to allow us to keep record of those of you who are in the room, who do we have at the table, and who are we engaging. This is really to facilitate our ongoing follow-up so that we are able to engage in this partnership process. It also helps us to document while we are implementing. So it's one thing to say we had this engagement Thursday and Friday, and we all came and we had a nice turnout, and everybody identified trends and then position our activities on those trends to increase our own successes. It also helps us to assess whether the intended activities are being implemented as we envision. And critical to this is that when our activities are discovered to not be congruent with what we had planned, it is not necessarily a negative thing. I've seen many times that it means that what we planned was perhaps not as realistic or not as appropriate or accurate. So one of the other big features is to help us to improve in our planning. When we look back, we are able to identify, well, we had a target that was really just based on the emotion of those in the room, and it was based on our level of attack around that issue, but perhaps we need to dial it back a bit and be a bit more realistic. Monitoring also will help us to showcase, and this is what we are really focused on in this Risen Bit project, to focus on innovations. What are some of the things that we are doing that are perhaps new, we've not done before, or maybe how we are doing it is a bit new, and how can we use, document, and showcase these innovations to attract additional funding, to help us to understand really what are we doing better than anyone else? What is our niche? What is an approach that we've taken that really helps to shift the needle in a way that we've not seen before? We do not want that to miss us. So we want to be very deliberate and very intentional about documenting our innovative practices. And sometimes those only come to the fore as innovative when we look back. And so we want to bear that in mind as well. And to use it for soliciting additional funding. The best sell for investment is your proof of concept and your proof of an outcome that is actually working. And based on what we've heard so far, we are seeing some very workable outcomes. We need just to harness those and package them in a way that we can then use it to solicit additional funding. And in so doing, we are able to say we are not only asking for additional funding to do more of what we've done, but we can show you what are the activities that we've implemented that have generated the outcome. And hopefully we can infuse in there the cost component, so we know how much does it cost to actually transform UCCI into a more environmentally appropriate environment. How much does it cost to make us into a paperless environment? And what are the results of doing that? So that's a fantastic sell to be able to document, and to put a dollar figure on it will help us really to be very strategic in soliciting additional support. So MEAD at the end of the day ensures that stakeholders are accountable to themselves and to each other and to your activities and your commitments. And it also involves transparency through your reporting and being answerable to both beneficiaries and funders. I always say a big part of monitoring and evaluation, accountability and learning is transforming the behavior to one where we become a bit more mature, or we adopt a mature stance around our work. So we are not as sensitive when we see an aspect of our work that needs to be improved. It's not a negative show. It's about something that we can learn. But the key to this is really ensuring that those areas that we can improve on, that it's packaged, it's not used to really be critical, but it's actually used to coalesce support in order to arrive at the improvements that we want to see. It really calls for us to create safe project spaces So when we have our meal information, we can sit together and look at these results, and collectively we can honestly say, what do we need to do differently and what do we need to do more of, without feeling that if I fell short, that I am somehow going to be punished or I will appear deficient. So it calls for a change in mindset of the entire context in which we operate. So we are about fostering a culture of continuous learning and a culture of adaptation, a culture. It encourages the documentation of these best practices, and this is what the drone will help us to generate the information to do this, to document the best practices, to document the lessons learned, and to identify the challenges faced, and to trigger some of those after-action reviews or brainstorming sessions where we can say, this didn't really turn out the way I intended, and I really need some help to figure out how can we do it a bit better, or how can we have a greater reach. This information helps in making informed decisions, but evidence-informed decisions, not decisions that are based on how we feel, but really based on the data, based on the qualitative feedback of our stakeholders, our beneficiaries who have given us their actual words on how they feel, but it may also be quantitative feedback, and feedback in the form of photos, in the form of posts, etc., so that we use the social media and the media that's available to us to facilitate it. It's about using this information to help to make informed decisions and to improve future strategies that will assist in fostering innovation. So some key features in terms of the significance within a university community, and surely this applies to other organizations as well. You use M&E for performance management, for performance measurement. You also focus on the accountability and transparency piece. So we like to operate now in the shared drive space. So we've designed a monitoring, evaluation, and learning template where we have activities and indicators, targets, etc. But that's on a shared drive where a number of pre-agreed, discrete people can share in those results. So at any point in time, you can go in and you can see what's happening. So that's a level of accountability. It's a level of transparency. Strategic planning and innovation, it helps us to improve our strategy. And as we heard earlier on this morning, it helps us to understand what are the policy changes or what are the policy directions that need to shift based on the realities that we are experiencing. Critically, it helps to inform resource allocation. We are not about investing funds on activities that are not driving results. And so if we are able to reduce those activities that are not driving results and invest them in those that are generating results, it works out best for us all. But these decisions would need to be made collectively, and they would need to be made based on solid data and solid information. So it also plays a role in quality assurance and accreditation, and we know in the university environment, this issue of accreditation is pretty critical. Adaptability and innovation shows that as the environment changes, we all know the life-changing effects that we all saw with COVID-19 pandemic, and coming out of that, we needed to be resilient, but we also needed to have some dynamism and resilience around change. So it helps us to develop the ability to adapt and to adjust to change, and of course, to enhance decision-making that again should be based on evidence. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I say that I really do look forward to aligning my passion for this work with the UCCI community, and certainly with the projects, leaving with you some lasting approaches and strategies that you can continue to incorporate. Thank you for your attention this morning.
Thanks so much, Dr. Lloyd. Really appreciated your insights and your encouragement as we move along with this sustainability thrust, that we ensure we have outputs that are measured, measurable, and data informed. So with that, we get into the most exciting part of this morning, and I want to welcome again Ms. Young to lead us through with the directions for the breakout session.
Good morning again, everyone. So I trust that everyone has enjoyed the sessions this morning, that they were informative and also just very edifying and hopefully encouraging as well. So we do have a breakout session now, which we'll be doing. It's I feel like if you're actually going back into this. Sorry. All right, so the way we'll be doing these breakout sessions, I think it looks like we have about over 30-something persons, right? So in the essence of time, what we'll do is we're going to do the breakout sessions in here. We'll have four groups should be suitable, 4 groups. We wouldn't let you all have to move too far from each other, so we could actually have the groups just as we are. And we have a little exercise which we would like you all to work on. We have some lovely sheets of paper and some markers which we will be going into. Yeah, I know that with the lecturer, you're all accustomed doing this the other way, right? But so I will just put the questions that we are to be responding to. I'm so sorry what I have, right? So in the meantime, yes, and we have one more room in case one group wants to go to the, I think it's the boardroom, right? That's in the event. But for now, we could, so like this group, 1, 2, 3 can be one group. You have to leave? Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, so that you have approximately, I should probably ask who has to leave, just so that I get an idea. Just yourselves and, okay, all right. So yeah, so we could have this as one group of about here. So we have these. Yeah, we're gonna put one of. Yeah, we're gonna mix them up afterwards. Like just accordingly, so it's a little bit balanced. But now that you're saying that you're leaving, so you're leaving. Oh, you're staying. Okay, all right, good. So then we have, because we did have name tags for everyone, but some people were shy to put on their name tags. So I think this is okay here. Then this group, this will be another group here. We have this as another group here. Actually, we could probably have 5. Yeah, so approximately like 5 to 6 persons. So this can be another group here. So you guys will be 1, 2. How many persons are staying? Everybody here is staying? Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right. And then these 2 tables here will be another group. So y'all can just huddle together, I guess, in the middle here, so that we have about 4. And I'll just go around and check to make sure it's balanced as well, right? So one group will be here, and let me just, And just to explain what the exercise is. So the first question is, what in your opinion are some of the challenges to sustainability for UCCI? The second question is, how can these challenges be overcome? The third question, what should be the top 3 thematic areas of focus for UCCI, in your opinion? Number 4, what resources and partners do you recommend and we collaborate with on the sustainability planning process? Number 5 is what should be included in our sustainability vision and mission statement? And number 6 is, do you have any other suggestions for the sustainability plans, right? So I'll just be distributing some of the paper here, coming around, making sure the groups are balanced. All right? Don't look so excited about it. And then we have to report back afterward. Yeah, I know. Work. Working group. Our working group. So then we.
Yes.
You were ready today. It's there, roughly. Are we started?
Okay, so that means for your but license.